The ghostly baker presented by Absolutely Haunted. In the summer of 1972, I found a charming old building for sale on Main Street in a quiet little town. What I didn't realize was that I was also getting a free, though very opinionated, ghost in the deal. Turns out, this spirited baker from the early 30s wasn't just haunting the place, he was running up my grocery and my liquor bill with his obsession for flour and mozzarella. Oh, did I mention he was a prohibitionist? Not the best thing for a spirit-serving establishment. Funny? Absolutely. Expensive? Oh, you need to hear the full story to believe it. I had been searching for the perfect place to pursue my passion for starting an Italian restaurant featuring our signature brick oven-fired pizza. Back then, this style of pizza baking was still relatively rare, and I saw an opportunity to carve out my niche in the market. The realtor mentioned that the building was available for a surprisingly reasonable price, so I decided to take a closer look and ended up buying it. Our first few weeks were absolute chaos, customers pouring in, cash registers ringing, and me running around like a headless chicken. I barely had time to breathe, let alone engage in small talk. Maybe that's why it took a while for the town gossip to reach me. Apparently, my new building came with a bonus feature, a haunted past. Spooky rumors floated around, but honestly, I was too busy keeping the business afloat to care. Even after the first whispers of a lingering presence, I brushed it off. That is, until things started getting weird. At first, it was little things, mysterious flower footprints, the smell of fresh bread when no one was baking. Then, it escalated. Rolling pins flew off shelves, ovens turned on by themselves, and my poor staff started quitting faster than I could hire replacements. It started with the sous chef, who had come in early one rainy afternoon, to start the prep she needed for that day's menu. She later told me that she had gone into the cold room to get the vegetables she needed to prep out, and that was when she turned around and found there was a huge man standing in the middle of the floor just staring at her. She reported that as she ran, she could hear his laughter following her, long after she had left the building. She had gotten so scared that after getting out she refused to come back in. I had to call her at home to get her story, as nothing would get her to enter the restaurant again. During our phone conversation, she described a chilling encounter. He was dressed all in white t-shirt, white pants, white apron, all dusted with flour. His face, what did he look like? His face had no eyes. She stated. A small sob escaped her mouth. That sounds so creepy, I said. But that's not all, she added, hesitating. There was something else. I braced myself. Something else? She took a deep breath. He farted and it was loud and it smelled horrible. I blinked. Like, farted, are you serious? Yes. I saw his eyes and was so stunned I couldn't move. As I was standing there in shock, he farted. That's when I screamed and ran. I think I was in shock. I didn't say anything else for a couple minutes, then I made her mad when I started to laugh. This ghost has a sense of humor, I thought. Laugh all you want, she retorted. If it had happened to you, well, you wouldn't be laughing. Now, listen, any ghost is bad for business. She gave me her resignation over the phone, told me to mail her last check and slammed the receiver down so hard my manager heard it as she was walking in the door. We need a new sous chef, I reported. I have to admit, that was unexpected. Luckily, my chef had a backup plan and found a replacement faster than you can say. Haunted Pizzeria. Crisis averted, or so I thought. Everything seemed to be running smoothly, no ghostly flower explosions, no phantom smells, until my manager called me at my desk asking me to meet her in her office. I have to confess this made me wonder what had happened now. At this rate, I wasn't sure if I was running a business or an unintentional ghost hunting reality show. My manager, Paula, is the most level-headed person I know. She's been running one of my other places for years, and if there's one thing I can say about her, it's that she doesn't do drama. So when she asked me to come speak with her, I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. Maybe a broken register, maybe we were running low on dishes, something normal. I hurried down the hallway behind the bar, past the restrooms, and found her sitting at her desk with her head in her hands. Her door was wide open, her face looked ghostly, and I swear it turned a whiter shade of pale as I sat down. What's up? She looked at me, hesitated, then said something I never saw coming. Doug, I'm sorry, but I don't think I can keep working here. I blinked. Paula, what? Why? I thought everything was going great. Without a word, she got up, crossed the room, and shut the office door. Now, Paula doesn't get rattled easily. This was not about a cash register. Doug, there is something really wrong here. In this building, I frowned. Okay, she took a deep breath. Doug, I saw him. I stared. Saw who? You know who, she said, lowering her voice. The ghost, the spirit, whatever the hell you want to call it. Now, I'm not saying I'm a skeptic, but I definitely wasn't ready for what she said next. Tonight, I was standing near the bar while Bethany was serving customers. I don't even know what made me look at her, but suddenly, right behind her, that man, the one the sous chef described, just appeared. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. He was just standing there, scowling at the bottles of alcohol like they'd personally insulted him. No one else seemed to notice, but they did notice when several bottles suddenly flew off the back bar and smashed on the floor. I swallowed. Seriously, Doug? He looked furious. And then, just as I was trying to process what I was seeing, he swiped his arm, and another 10 bottles came crashing down. Glass everywhere. Liquor everywhere. We're lucky no customers got cut. I sat there, staring at her, my brain trying to catch up. Paula? The woman who could handle a Friday night rush with a broken fryer and a missing bartender without breaking a sweat? Shaken. And now, I had a new problem, because if the ghost was mad about alcohol, then running a bar in his haunted domain? Probably not the best business decision I'd ever made. She must have caught a whiff of doubt on my face because suddenly, she leaned in and nearly shouted, "Doug." I saw it. I held up my hands. Paula, I believe you. I just have no idea what to do about it. Her expression did not scream confidence in my leadership skills. Can you give me some time to figure this out? I pleaded. I really don't want you to leave. You run this place like a machine, and let's be honest, managers like you don't grow on trees, or haunt bars, apparently. She stared at me, hard, like she was mentally weighing her options, stay and risk becoming the next ghost, or leave and let me deal with Casper the grumpy bartender on my own. Finally, she sighed. I'll stay for now, Doug. But if you can't fix this, my resignation is as good as on your desk. I exhaled. Fair enough. And thanks, Paula. Seriously, finding a manager like you is harder than finding a ghost that doesn't throw temper tantrums. Kevin, the drummer from the house band, got the shock of his life when he was rudely shoved down the stairs while making his way down from the third-floor dressing room. He barely managed to catch himself before doing a full-on tumble to his doom. But the real kicker? When he looked back up, there stood the baker, grinning like a mischievous poltergeist with a vendetta. And just to add insult to actual injury, Kevin swears the ghost flipped him the bird before vanishing into thin air. Talk about unsportsmanlike behavior. Then there's Tyler, the kitchen's self-proclaimed ghost hunter and part-time produce warrior. According to him, he got into a literal tug-of-war with the ghost in the cold room, over a box of lettuce, of all things. It started as a simple disagreement, man versus spirit, but the ghost, being the petty little menace that he is, escalated things quickly. One shove later, Tyler was on the ground, and before he could recover, the ghost pelted him with vegetables like some kind of spectral salad sniper. As Tyler scrambled to his feet, the ghost let out an unhinged cackle and disappeared through the wall, leaving behind a crime scene of leafy greens. Now, Tyler has declared war. He's setting traps, drawing up blueprints, and swearing revenge against his invisible nemesis. Will he outwit the ghostly prankster? Or will he end up buried under another avalanche of flying produce? Stay tuned for the next thrilling installment of Tyler vs. the Phantom. Ever since Tyler's lettuce assault incident, he's found an unlikely ally in Daniel, the pizza baker. Daniel had his own ghostly encounter when he pulled a perfectly baked pizza from the brick oven, only to have the spirit yeet it straight onto the floor. That was the last straw. Now, these two have joined forces in an all-out war against their invisible tormentor. Their brilliant plan? Turn the kitchen into a full-blown ghost hunting obstacle course, booby traps and all. Of course, this has made the kitchen a mildly dangerous place for the rest of the staff, but hey, who doesn't love a little workplace adventure with their job? Then there's Brittany, my personal favorite bartender and, apparently, the ghost's least favorite human. One night, she was casually doing her thing when glasses started flying off the shelves for no reason. Before she could even process the horror movie moment, she was gone, out the door, screaming in the middle of the street. The ghost, never one to miss an opportunity for theatrics, decided to send 2 bottles of expensive whiskey hurling after her, shattering them in a dramatic finale. The worst part? The smell of whiskey lingered so long that customers wouldn't stop ordering it. And wouldn't you know it, I ran out of whiskey. So, to recap, my kitchen is now a hazardous war zone, my bar has a ghost with anger issues, and my best bartender is still traumatized. Ah, the joys of running a haunted establishment. One thing I can tell you about a small town is if you want answers sooner or later someone will show up to give them to you, and that is exactly what happened one evening. An older lady, very elegant, requested her waitress ask me to come by her table. I was expecting some sort of complaint or maybe a compliment, but as the first pleasantries ended she came right to the point. Is he still here? She asked. He? I truly did not connect this woman to my spirit. Yes, you know who I mean, Norman. Norman? I was racking my brain trying to figure out who Norman was when she sighed. The ghost that resides here. His name is Norman. I knew him when I was a little girl, he was kind. Kind? She couldn't be talking about our ghost. She continued, "The town's gossip is why I am sure he never moved on, and why he is angry so often. They say he did himself in after his father and his wife died, but I never believed it. I have always thought it was an accident." What happened to Norman's wife? I had asked her simply because of her reaction to mentioning the woman. Perhaps there was something I should know. I do not know for sure, but I once overheard our old doctor tell my father that she drank herself to death. She never liked living in this small town, you know. They had met in the city before he had to come home and take over the bakery for his family. The town grapevine always said that he could not go on without her. But I knew that was not who he was. He loved life too much. Sure, he was upset with losing her, but he would not end things that way. We had a rather nice conversation as she tried some of our best dishes. Later, resting in my office, thinking, I could certainly believe that the gossip around here may very well be what is keeping our friend so unhappy. I wondered if the truth came out, would he feel free to move on to whatever is next? I dozed off on my office sofa thinking we finally knew why he hates alcohol so much and wondering if there was something we could do to help him. The chef reported to me, with a face paler than a ghost's bedsheet, that right in the middle of the dinner service, our fiery friend had materialized, completely engulfed in flames, right in the center of the kitchen. Just as the staff started screaming, he collapsed to the floor and vanished. It was so traumatic that the chef had to order emergency whiskey shots from the bar, just to keep the staff from bolting mid-service. And honestly, I don't blame them. If I had seen a flaming ghost reenact his death while I was trying to plate pasta, I'd have flung myself into the walk-in freezer and never come out. At this point, I truly had no idea what to do. I was out of ideas, out of patience, and dangerously close to being out of whiskey, because despite not physically appearing as much, our resident spirit was still racking up alcohol losses at an alarming rate. I decided to come in early the next morning to do inventory while the place was empty. If he wanted to mess with me, at least I'd have an audience of exactly 0 people to see me scream like a child. As I entered the kitchen, I felt it before I saw it. That eerie sense of being watched. Then, as my eyes adjusted to the dim lighting, I spotted him, glowing white, standing with his hands resting on the prep table. I could tell he knew I was there. He straightened up and he began to show me what had taken his life all those years ago. I watched as he silently went through the motions of his last moments. He was preparing dough, focused on getting loaves ready for the oven. Unnoticed, a small bit of lard dropped onto the floor. He moved to feed wood into the fire, grabbed a few logs from a phantom woodpile, and turned back toward the open grate, his vision blocked by the wood in his arms. Then it happened. His foot slid through the lard. He lost his balance. He stumbled forward, straight into the open flames. The moment the fire touched him, he erupted like a torch. He flailed, stumbling all around the room. He was burning alive. His screams may haunt my nightmares forever. Then, as he collapsed, his body flickered and faded away, leaving nothing but silence in the empty kitchen. I stood there, my breath stuck in my throat. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. He hadn't done this to himself. It wasn't despair. It wasn't guilt. It had been an accident. Just a tragic, split-second misstep that had cost him everything. I haven't seen him since. Neither has the staff. Is he still here? Maybe. Sometimes, when I walk through the kitchen alone, I wonder if he still lingers in the quiet corners. Maybe he's decided to keep to himself now. Or maybe, just maybe, showing me the truth finally set him free. Do we miss him? Oddly enough, sometimes we do. We got used to him, in a way, his temper tantrums, his mischief, even his silent, brooding presence. Only thing is, I don't miss the alcohol bills.